this is such a good conversation, we're gonna kiss now, right? Is that impulse coming from, I really think you look beautiful in this light and I wanna kiss you? Is that where that's coming from? I feel close to you, so I wanna kiss you. Then maybe you kiss, I don't know, talk to them. But this is such a good conversation, I don't want it to end, so what comes next? I guess we kiss, right? That doesn't sound like it's coming from inside. It sounds like it's coming from top down, from like an idea, probably an idea that was given to you externally by like some sort of like, I don't know, romantic movie or you know, song about what you do in bed, or, you know, like wherever you got the idea of this is what we do next, right? Who gave you that idea? Because if it's not coming from in here, if it's not like coming from your belly button up, then why do it? Welcome to the Chill Polyamory Patreon only live chat, where the first Sunday of every month, that is tonight, tomorrow if you are watching this on YouTube, the first Sunday of every month at 8 p.m. Berlin local time, I welcome all paid patrons from €3 and higher to come and hang out. Ask me anything you want about life, about non-monogamy, you know, anything based on my experience, just being me. I'm polyamorous for 13 years, and I will give feedback and support to the best of my ability. So as always, take whatever rings true and leave the rest. Maybe it's for somebody else. If you are watching this on YouTube afterwards and you would like to join us next time, you can absolutely do that. You can ask a question specific to your situation for a fraction tiny bit of the price of a one-on-one session together. So you can go to patreon.com/chillpolyamory. I will put the link up there somewhere. And be sure to do it on your web browser, because Apple will charge you extra. They will add on like a 30% fee. Patreon is also, by the way, where I offer email pen pal services. So if you want to email back and forth, I have hundreds of polyamory resources. So otherwise, we can also do a one-on-one video chat at chillpolyamory.com. First question. I've recently shifted from a platonic dynamic with a close friend I live with to now also include romantic and sexual connection. I feel comfortable in moments of intimacy and connection with him, but finding it awkward at times to navigate the default of acting like his roommate more than a partner. This is also a recent shift, so I don't want to move things too fast. Would love your insight. Going from platonic to romantic and sexual in a roommate setting. I think we get into our rhythms, we get into our routines, right? And so inertia, I think this also goes for like people who are maybe romantically and sexually, they started their relationship and then they've been roommates for a long time, and then the sexual piece starts to like fall away. Sometimes it is inertia. It is just like, this is what we've been doing for a while, and you know, it's easy to get into a pattern. So if you are defaulting back to acting more like a roommate than a partner, I do think that that's a comfortable place to be with someone that we share a living space with, in my personal experience, right? Because romance and sex can feel so hot or so intense, and not always fleeting, because I think there can be a warm glow that's just sort of ever present. But I think it is maybe not sustainable with the dailiness, or the fact that you're doing laundry, or, you know, going to the bathroom, or, you know what I mean? Like the dailiness of living in a space doesn't always feel hot and sexy or romantic. And so sometimes that can be like a little bit more boxed away. We got to do that on purpose, right? You know, so I wouldn't say forcing anything, but yeah, if you and he, can you talk about it and be like, oh, I love that we're doing this now. Do you want to go do something special? You know, something as easy as that, like in terms of like getting started on breaking the routine, you know? Do you want to do something special out of the home? Do you want to do something nice and then come back and keep that energy going in the home? Do you want to have something in the home that's a new part of our routine that like we don't have necessarily like romance scheduled, though sometimes people benefit from that, but rather than like, you know, anything so militant or cold, just being like, you know, Fridays are our free day, free play day, right? For example. So Friday is a day that maybe we do something together if we can, and let's see what we see. You know, so some intentionality to whatever degree feels like the vibe. Sometimes people like there's a strong desire to break a pattern. Sometimes it's like you're saying, you just kind of don't want to move things at an unnatural pace, but you also don't want to like fall into, just platonic. So it can be awkward. I think there's also value in saying when something's awkward personally, I think that can create some closeness of just being like, I don't know. This is in my mind, but what do we do? That's just my personal style, is being like, I wanted to touch your butt right now, but like but also I didn't, and I don't know what that means, or I've definitely verbalized all of that in real time, and like that's kind of cute. And I think anything to break down the guards that we can get around each other, and create an environment of play. What would foster an environment of play? Okay. But yeah, I wouldn't stress too much, a relationship's gonna do what it's gonna do, but we can definitely do some of it on purpose. Next question that was emailed to me. Sometimes I wonder how some polyamorous people find so many people that they have feelings for and seem to be in a lot of relationships. I think I saw you write somewhere you've only fallen in love a few times in your life. Correct. I would say 4 times. I am similar to this. I don't fall in love or have romantic feelings for people often. I have a nesting partner I've been with for 6 years. We're non-monogamous and open to polyamory. In fact, I'd love to have other partners at some point. Problem is I don't often feel romantic, and people I've dated usually end up naturally becoming friends or short-term casual sex. So the question is, do you think that this is just an individual difference, or are there some mononormative ideas about dating and partnerships that I could unpack? I think we all have mononormative ideas that we could unpack. Monogamy has been wired into our relating to people, right? You are going to be teasing that apart till probably the day you die. So the answer is yes, there are mononormative ideas just because you exist in a monogamous environment. And from what I'm hearing is like falling in love, what does that mean? Is it that you want to, like, romantic feelings are not common, don't fall in love common, but does that mean you aren't emotionally close? Does that mean you're not, like, do you have, I guess, firm boxes of like casual sex, friendship, partner? Some people do. If yes, then those distinctions become a bit more like limiting of like, well, I don't feel romance for you, so therefore friend. And therefore friend means we don't build this together, or we'll never live together, or we don't imagine a future in this way together, or whatever it is. Like, can you define those things, I guess? Like, not to be too heady with it, but like genuinely, so you understand what your relating is. Are there boxes like that? I used to have boxes that were quite firm like that until I realized one of my friends I really wanted to build a business with or do creative projects with. And I was like, so I guess you're kind of a business partner, right? We do that all the time. We have partners creatively or partners in business. And like, I was like, oh, yeah, I guess you are kind of like a platonic partner that I'm building something with, right? That even, and monogamous people do that, but that even was like, started to make me question, wait, so what is a friend, right? And like, so don't overwhelm yourself too much with like trying to define everything into like, oblivion, but rather to understand, okay, so you don't feel romance for someone. Does that mean they don't have access to a lot of emotional closeness, that you couldn't have some kind of future with them, that like, yeah, I don't feel romantic very often. And I've absolutely had like really long-term and emotionally intense, deeply emotionally supportive relationships with people that I basically called partners, like, and they would call me like a queer platonic or a close friend, or the label stopped mattering. We just decided what we were going to do together. So you're saying you're open to polyamory. That to me, and you don't have to see polyamory the same way I do, but you came here and you asked me about my opinion. I see polyamory as many loves, meaning a wide array of how love can look. And is romance the only love? Because I have had so much depth and richness in a close emotional friendship that sometimes we hook up, but then we'll go months not talking. And then when we get back together, maybe we'll hook up straight for a week. and then we're each other's emotional support for a year while that person's parent is dying, right? Like that it's kind of unnameable, but it's love. And I don't like want a candlelit dinner with that person, you know, and I don't want to like live with that person, but they're part of my polyamory. They're part of my polyamorous way of relating. So that's me. Plenty of monogamous people might describe their friendships the same way, and that still falls under the umbrella of monogamy to them. That's why I'm saying, like, what is it to you? What is friend to you? What is romance to you? What is polyamory to you? You know? Because you don't have to fall in love in a traditional sense in order to feel like you are satisfyingly polyamorous. Polyamory to me means like, especially in an anarchistic way of relating, meaning like anti-hierarchical way of relating, polyamory to me is I meet a new person and the door is open to whatever that relationship is going to be. I don't put limits on it. Because when I was monogamous, if I meet a new person, they are automatically limited. There is a hard ceiling, and I put them in the friend box, and I just don't even consider anything else with them because my monogamy already pre-decided what my relationship with that person would be. But in polyamory, I decide with that person what my relationship with them is going to be. And maybe it'll be romantic, maybe it'll be sexual, blah, 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 blah. And it doesn't happen very often that it's romantic, and that's okay because I still feel deeply polyamorous, even if for a time I wind up only sleeping with or feeling like I want romance with one person. All my people were polyamorous as fuck, right? Like, so what is it to you? Those are a lot of questions to chew on, but good luck. Have fun with it. It's curiosity. You're self-discovering, right? It could also be like fun and play to a degree. Okay. Next question that was emailed to me. My meta keeps breaking up with my husband every now and then. Okay, so we're jumping into a heavier topic. My metamor, partner of my partner, keeps breaking up with my husband every now and then. By this point, I find it hard to show empathy or compassion because I'm certain that she will come back the next day on the one hand, but then on the other hand, I am not so certain that their relationship makes either of them happy. However, I want to be there for my partner. Any advice on that? Oh, goodness. Okay. Watching a partner go through a tumultuous up and down in a relationship is something that I think monogamous people can experience too if they have a stressful friend relationship, right? Like, I don't think that it's always the romance element or the sensuality element of it that makes it tricky to navigate. I think it's caring about maybe one or both people involved, but either way, caring about somebody who cares about somebody and being like, well, I'm super not like an unbiased third party, and like I'm invested in your autonomy. I want you to do what you want to do, but I have concerns, or it's hard to see you like this, or I don't know. It really depends. It really depends on your relationship with your meta, right? So like if a partner's sibling, for example, let's take it out of the polyamory context. If a partner's sibling is being a dick to them, right? They have their own connection. They have their own history. They have a relationship in that case that predates my own with my partner. I don't want to assume that I know what's best for that dynamic. I don't even know what's best for me a lot of the time, right? So I try to make sure I don't have hubris in, about like, I know the right move that someone should make. At the very least, I don't even do that with clients who like book with me. I'm just like, I just come with questions. I come with empathy. I come with holding space for emotion, because, and a genuine acceptance of like, I don't know what your answer is, but I trust that somewhere in you, you know what your answer is. And can we go looking for that together? Can we find that together? That typically is my approach to trying to support people. Obviously I'll have my opinions, and especially if I've seen a situation over and over and over and over, I can also reflect back to the person, So I did have that with a partner and their sibling at one point, which is why that example comes to mind, where I was just like, there's a whole lot here that is not my business, and you keep going to this, game that you're playing, and you keep having a hard time, and they keep speaking to you disrespectfully, and I'm just reflecting back to them what they're saying. And like, it's hard for me to see you keep doing this. And like, can I better understand why you're going back? Because I don't relate. I don't get it. If someone spoke to me that way, I would be cutting them off. But I also don't have that kind of relationship with a sibling, so I can't fathom. And so we kind of went down that path, and it got to a point where like I realized it was almost an abusive relationship. We kind of realized that together. And I was like, okay, well, obviously, it's who am I to be like, your relationship with this person you care about is abusive, like I'm assigning that label. I don't think I ever said that in that framing. But I was like, but it's hard for me. My only solution then is to pull away. My only solution then is to step back. So I don't think I'm your support person for this. Like, I care about you, and I'm increasingly more frustrated that you're not taking action, right? That was where I got with it. And so that was just, it's again, saying it all, because I can't pretend that I'm like some elevated, evolved, unbiased being. I have my opinions. I have my feelings. I also have people that I get triggered by, right? That like, I didn't particularly like this sibling of my partner. So obviously, a partner of a partner is different than a family member of a partner most of the time. Sometimes, we marry into family or consider them chosen family, but it's a little bit trickier because you're saying that your partner's partner is breaking your partner's heart, right? But honestly, if I was in that position, I would approach it the same way. I would lean on that past experience from non-romantic and non-sexual contexts and be like, I actually already do have a skill set here of the kind of detachment with love that I would want to do, while also not bullshitting. Like, here are my limits, here are my biases, here is what I want to say, and I'm not in charge of your life. And if you're discovering something here, or you keep wanting to scratch that itch until you're done, attempting it, right? Like, I want my partner to feel like they have autonomy over their own relationships and that I'm not like influencing them. But I've even said that, where I was just like, I got nothing, right? Like, so then if I can't hear about it anymore, if I'm starting to feel cynical, if I'm starting to resent my partner for inaction or for getting stuck in a loop or some kind of cycle, then I have gotten to a point where I'm like, I want to hear about your emotions, but I cannot get into the nitty gritty. You cannot tell me all the things that they said and all the things that they did to you and what pissed you off, because then I'll get pissed off. I'll get pissed off at one or both of you, like I'll feel like or I'll get an impulse that I want to control, and I'm trying to minimize those impulses, and like, so, but if you're feeling very sad, if you want to be held, if you are on our date and you're feeling distracted, say those things, right? We don't have to get into the details of it, because my relationship with my partner, I still want to like be empathetic and warm and loving on their emotions, even if I just cannot, if it hits a point of diminishing returns, or even not counterintuitive, like counterproductive for me to know all the details, then maybe I don't know all the details, right? So I think that can be a way to still be present. What are you feeling right now? What are the emotions? Say the feeling words, and what would feel good right now? Like, how can I love on you? Do you want solutions? Do you just want me to listen? Do you want me to hold you? And if at the very, like, if I try everything and I'm just getting reactive, or I just can't do it today, I don't have the bandwidth today, then I might suggest, could you reach out to this person? Could you reach out to that person? I've definitely asked my partners, can you expand your support network a little bit to people who don't know anything about anybody in this situation, or who at least aren't directly impacted, because sometimes we aren't the right support person. So I'm a big fan of having as many polyamorous or non-monogamous people in your life as possible, because we got to be able to go be messy somewhere. And sometimes our partner about another partner is not where we can go be messy. You know what I mean? So hopefully some of what's in there might feel relevant. It's always tricky, and of course context is everything. So I went broad with it because I'm not really sure the specifics of what you're dealing with. But good luck. A lot of non-monogamy work is also codependency work. Not calling you codependent. I'm saying the work that people do to detach, the work that people do to let someone have their own problems and be like, that's not my job to solve. That work, that is very, very powerful in non-monogamy, and maybe like necessary if you want to have a good time. Okay, next question. I've been seeing my friends with benefits, 36 man, for 2+ years, and my boyfriend, 26 man, together 4 years. And I, 31 man, are opening up our relationship so I can deepen things with him. As the hinge, how can I make this transition easier for my boyfriend? And how can he cope with the uncertainty and changing dynamics of our previously monogamous relationship? What are his fears? What are his fears? What are his pain points? What are his sensitivities? Can you just know them? Can you be curious about them? And sometimes people will start with a surface level thing and they'll say, I'm scared you're going to spend more time with them than me, for example. Okay, and then what? Like if that were to happen, what does that mean? What does that look like? What is more time? Is it a keeping score thing? Or is it just like, if I started trading a night with you for a night with him, like, can you actually flesh out what is he scared of, if anything? What are the stressors, if anything? And if it starts with, well, I'm scared you're gonna, do this thing. Well, what's under that? Well, I'm scared you're going to like him more. I'm scared you're going to realize I'm this inadequacy or that insecurity. I'm scared that that's gonna be proven true. And oftentimes it can come down to like, I'm scared you're going to leave, or I'm scared you're going to stay and I'm going to feel discarded even if we stay together, or, so whatever the fear is, can you go deeper until it's like, what is the core of a worst case scenario? And can you look that worst case scenario in the eyes? Because then you're really internalizing how you can see the other person. Because if somebody says, well, I'm scared that you're going to realize I'm not enough and that you like having sex with him more than me, for example. Or I guess you're talking about more of an emotional depth. So I'm scared that, even though the sex has not been bothering me, I'm scared that you're going to realize I'm not enough and you're going to, want to move in with him or build a life with him and you won't want to with me, for example. If it goes in that direction, then okay, well, now I'm very clear on the core of your fear. So how can I even avoid the optics of that coming true? I talk about this a lot. Is like, you won't think that you're doing a thing, but could it even look like that? Could it even be ammunition to like make the scared part of him think that that's what's happening? So if I know that all of my partners are safe and I know I'm not going anywhere, they might not know that, because they are in the less powerful position. I'm in a powerful position. I can negotiate all of the relationships. One partner is a bit powerless over the escalation of, or, depth of feeling that I have with another partner. And times of change are the scariest. So if you are scared, or if anybody is scared of what else is going to change, then I also, in addition to understanding what's scary and how to avoid that coming true, I also try to reinforce with what's soothing, what's calming. So big change scary, new change scary, but I know I'm calmed by consistency. I know I'm calmed by physical touch. I know I'm calmed by, seeing that you're excited to see me, or seeing you put energy and creativity into what we're doing. So I know I'm shiny too. They're not the new shiny person only. Like, I also want to feel shiny even though I'm a long-term partner, for example. So what would feel good? Can you imagine what care would look like? Can you imagine what stabilizers anyway, that you can add during this period of change? I often describe it as like shifting sands underneath you. So what are the pillars that you can hold on to, right? Is it a regular, thing on the calendar? Is it spontaneity? Is it, creativity? Is it, extra, like doubling down on affection in both places for a time, whereas the hinge, it can feel a little like, oh, I'm really taking care of people, like everybody's, has a lot of needs or something, for a time during a period of change. If in my experience, if I front load, if I give extra love to an existing relationship as I'm changing or deepening or evolving with another one, it shows that it's not a threat. To the best of my ability. They got their own work, to the insecurities and so on and fears. That's theirs to work on. But can I demonstrate that this is not taking away from that? That this is not in competition with that? How can I show that? How can I prove that and give it, a pattern of the fear not coming true? And that's just during a time of change. And as long as no agreements are broken, as long as everybody feels like it's safe to say everything, then usually you can get to a place of calm. Next question. I had a hard convo with my partner that left me confused. He asked if it was okay if he and his other partner watched a couple episodes of a show we usually watch together. I felt a twang of jealousy, but genuinely don't have a problem with that. What I struggled with was how he phrased it. He said, this person probably wants to watch a couple of episodes, which felt like he was placing the request on her rather than owning it himself. That felt hard and in a way, quote unquote, dishonest, especially since his communication has been a struggle in our relationship. And I have some resentment there. So my question is, am I just getting stuck on the phrasing, or is there validity in how I feel? I think that's valid. That is a frequent frustration of mine. I'm like, own your choices, right? It's okay if it starts with this person probably wants to watch these things. That's not a complete sentence yet, right? In my opinion, this person probably wants to watch a couple of these things, and I would too. I think that would be fun if we watched that together. So how would you feel if I decided to watch these things with her, right? Like, it's owning it. And I think it's easy to fall into. I know it's not malicious a lot of the time. If it has been a conversation over and over and your partner is still like repeating mistakes, that can be frustrating and is important for them to know what continuing to not hear you about that does. That can erode patience, that can create resentment, like you're saying. And it is dishonest. I would just say it's not always bad intent, right? Like, I try to assume good intent, again, unless I have a pattern of behavior that shows like that you know what you're doing. You know what I mean? But like, I try not to accuse anybody of like lying on purpose, but so much as like requesting that they push past their discomfort and they ask for what they want, right? Because at the end of the day, the majority of the time, at least how I see it or how I have seen it, is a lot of times people are uncomfortable asking for a thing, especially in the context of non-monogamy. They're like, I don't want you to like get mad or say no, and like, oh, it's about my other partner. And it's easy, consciously or unconsciously, to throw the other partner under the bus and be like, be mad at them. If you're mad at this request, they wanted it, like they're the one asking for it. I don't think it's conscious a lot of the time, right? So maybe I'm giving some people more benefit of the doubt. Please do not, clip this and send it to a partner, and say, Genevieve agrees with me that I did nothing wrong. No, I think it is important to own, I would like to do this, and not asking permission, not saying, so can I watch the show? I would like to do this. How do you feel? How can I take care of you? Twinges of jealousy. That's fair. Talk about it. Yeah. It's important for my partners to finish the sentence and say, but what do you want? That's just hinge passivity is very, very unfortunately common. And I try to push back, but like lovingly give some grace, because it is not modeled for us, that kind of radical honesty most of the time. It is a muscle that we have to exercise and get stronger at using and establish with each other that it is safe. I heard the other day the term telefidelity, meaning you watch your shows together. That's the only thing that you're monogamous about is your TV shows. I thought that was... I have some thinking to do on that, because like it's funny in a sense, like it's kind of a running joke in non-monogamy is like, I don't know, fuck whoever, love whoever, but if you watch our show, cheating, you know what I mean? It's kind of funny, but some people do take it deeply seriously, and like I think there's something there that I've not yet untangled. I don't think it's a problem to have feelings about like an activity you share now, including like other people or whatever, or feeling left out or whatever, like those feelings are valid. I wonder why it's a thing. Wonder why it's a thing that we cling to in non-monogamy, right? I hear it so frequently. Okay, next question that was emailed to me. My meta wants to hook up with a friend I recently expressed wanting to be closer to or have a relationship with. He, my friend, said he's not in the headspace for exploring feelings relationships. I don't really experience desire for sex without feelings. And although I know others do, I'm struggling with feeling lied to by the situation. I'm also ashamed by how opposed I feel to it. I want them both to be happy, but the idea of them sleeping together makes me very upset, and I hate not being able to be okay with it. Any advice? So your meta wants to hook up with a friend that you have feelings with. There is... I think feeling upset is good information. right? I think distress can be an opportunity to like learn more about what the fuck is so upsetting about this, right? Like, and you've named some things that like I think anybody might feel distress about, which is like maybe a feeling of rejection. You wanted to go deeper and your friend said he's not in the headspace for that. That hurts. They are having sex, or they want to have sex. I'm sorry. They're desiring that. And it sounds like you might desire it too, but you're not really going to want that unless there's feelings, which your friend has said no to. So there's also that piece of it of like they're hooking up or they want to hook up, which is another thing that you are not having access to. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it really sounds like you and your friend, like it's like an ache there. And the meta is like putting a spotlight on that ache. Like, oh, you can do it with them, but not me, right? But the meta could be anybody. But I'm sure it hurts a little more when it's the partner of a partner, especially if it's a friend that you wanted to go deeper with. And this person already, who wants to hook up with them, this person already is with your other partner. Like, I understand how that could turn up the volume on it. It still sounds like it's an ache between you and your friend. And you don't have to feel happy for them, but what is the extremely upset trying to tell you? Can there be a physical processing of those feelings? Like there might be like a visceral, like I've talked until I was like sore in the throat and didn't feel relief. I had to like cry and like yell into a pillow and like I had to feel physically my feelings. So I don't know if any of that is in the mix, that you're not feeling relief from anger. But you said you're struggling with feeling lied to by the situation. Feeling lied to is like, I get the sense of like, it reminds me of feeling betrayed. I get that. I caution against anybody say, I feel lied to, because it does say their intent. Like in the emotion, it does say you did this on purpose, you lied to me. When I'm not hearing that in what you described, unless there's something that was left out of this, you know, like unless they lied and or there's a history of lying, or you know what I mean? Like there's something, I'm not hearing lying in what you wrote. So can you talk with your friend about it? Can you get the space that you might need? You don't have to, like, can you decide how much you would want to know or not know? If you're friendly with your meta, can you ask for some sensitivity around it? Like, here's what I want to know or not know, or, you know, like, I want to be happy for you. I'm definitely not there yet. I'm still hurting. But at the end of the day, like, I would only want you to be going in depth with someone who is available to have depth with you. And it doesn't even mean your friend isn't capable of it or might not even want it. He said he's not in the headspace for that, which means any attempt to pursue emotional intimacy would be disappointing or hurtful, or he's not available for that, right? So even if your meta was not in the mix, it sounds like these emotions might exist, no? There's not advice for grief or rejection so much as feeling it and seeking support and seeking softness is what I think. Yeah. My heart is with you because rejection, especially when other people are not actively being rejected, it doesn't even sound really like you were necessarily rejected, just like he's not available. But either way, like not being able to pursue something while other people do is a common ache. And yeah, would this ache exist either way, you know? Good luck. Okay. Real quick, midway point. If you want examples of polyamory on film and TV, if you want fictional examples that I tear to shreds because they're not real people so I don't feel guilty, my film and TV YouTube channel is just called Chill Polyamory. You're watching this on YouTube on Chill Polyamory 2, TOO. That is my second channel. My main channel is where I have fun. I talk about movies and TV shows and non-monogamy and all of that. My most recent video was on the relationship anarchy of Steven Universe. My next one is going to be on a movie with Adam Scott from Severance, and he's dating Megan Fox. And he also wants to, on purpose, have a baby with his platonic friend and platonic life partner. that movie exists. So I'm going to do a video on that, but I also might squeeze in another short video soon, if I can, on a new movie called The Threesome, which high-key feels like conservative Christian propaganda against non-monogamy. But I really don't want to watch that whole movie, so I might just talk some shit about the trailer. I don't know, TBD. But that is all on my YouTube channel, Chill Polyamory. That's find me there. And my podcast. That's the other thing, the non-monogamy storytelling podcast. If you want real examples, talked about fiction, let's talk nonfiction. If you want real people telling you what their non-monogamy looks like and what their mistakes were and how it's going great today, the podcast is called I Could Never. And it is on all podcast platforms. So season 3 is out now, and you can get it wherever you get podcasts. That is I Could Never. Plugs over, my loves. Next question. Do you think it is important to meet metamors? Whose choice is it if I want to meet my partner's meta and they want to meet me, but my partner's uncomfortable with it? What do we do with that? Oh, okay. That's several questions. I'll take it piece by piece. Do I think it's important to meet metamors? It's lovely. It is, it can make life easier. Parallel polyamory can, it can serve its purpose. Like if somebody is like really reactive, if people really aren't going to get along, or if somebody is like really against the idea of hanging out, then like forcing a hangout is going to be really stressful and uncomfortable. So like, no thank you to that, you know? And parallel also means that like time is very segmented, and to a degree information might be segmented. And if I want to spend quality time with 3 people and I have only 2 days, then I'm much more like picking and choosing or limiting time, versus if they all knew each other, then like maybe all 3 of us hang out over the course of both days, and then I get quality time with everybody, for example, right? Like, so the more that people are comfortable in each other's presence, the more flexibility you have in terms of like, yeah, quality time and events, and there can be more ease, but that is completely dependent on if you like each other. And plenty of people have met the partner of their partner and they're like, I don't get it. At the very least, neutral, right? At the very least, disinterested, you know? I aim for neutrality. I think compersion is a bonus. But yeah, I think to your question of whose choice is it if you meet metas, I think the metas, right? Both people gotta wanna meet. And sometimes there will be a hinge partner in the middle who is saying like, oh, no, like, don't meet. That's what your next question's about. Sometimes there will be a hinge partner in the middle that's like, you have to meet. I need my people to all know each other. This is the correct way of polyamory, right? I don't think it's the hinge partner's business, frankly, of what 2 people's relationship is with each other outside of them. Because when metas meet, they have their own relationship. And it's gonna do what it's gonna do. Maybe they're best friends, and maybe they hate each other. Usually somewhere in between, you know? And you can't force it. Including, you can't force meeting it. I've seen people try. I rarely speak so declaratively of you can't do this, you can do that. I don't think it's physically possible to force a connection with somebody if there isn't one, you know? Or if there's not desire for one. And a lot of times when someone has insisted upon it, anyone in the mix has insisted upon it. I need to meet the partners of my partners. I used to be that way. I was like, I have to meet my partner's partners. They need to know me. And it came from like a very, at the time, from me, controlling place of like, I needed to assert my presence, and I felt very out of control if I didn't know every single person. That's where I was coming from at that time, like 10, 11 years ago. But yeah, that was shitty too, you know, versus now when I'm like, oh, I'd love to meet your partner. I'd love, like, I have desire for that. Then that's an invitation. It's not a mandate. So I invite, I do not enforce. Okay? I welcome, even if there's conflict, I welcome conflict resolution. I am here. I would like to resolve this. I can't make you talk to me, right? I can't make you work this out with me. I cannot enforce. So I try not to force togetherness. I try not to force being a part. If there is a desire to force anything in one direction or another, I ask why. Why? The last part of your question, if I want to meet my meta and they want to meet me, but my partner's uncomfortable with that, what do? We can ask your partner, why are they uncomfortable? Why? What's the problem? but that's weird. No hate to your partner necessarily. It's fine if we feel discomfort, but look at it, name it, work through it, because their connection might have nothing to do with you. But if there's discomfort of like, I don't know, the last time you met one of my partners, you yelled at them and I'm worried of what's going to happen. I'm not saying this is you, but I'm just saying, like, if there's context-based discomfort of like, it went terribly last time, I don't want to go through that again. Okay, fair. Let's talk about that, right? But sometimes there's a tightness when it's like, I don't know, what if they start talking about me, or, like I want to keep all of my world separate, like that. I want to challenge that. I want to push on that, because like people, if they want to meet, should be able to meet, frankly, in my opinion, right? Two people want to spend time together. Those two people can spend time together. I'm not their keeper just because I care about both of them. That's my approach. It's like, you're your own person. And both of my partners have each other's number, and they just started like chitting and chatting with each other. And I was just like, okay, that's completely a relationship beyond my control. And if y'all have conflict, that's, unless it is including me that I've done something to one or both of you, then that's between the two of you. If y'all become best friends and you want to hang out with each other more than me, well, I might have feelings. I might have feelings about, hey, I want to come, but that's a relationship that is beyond my control, right? It is a separate relationship. And I try not to tell anybody what to do with their separate relationships. Lots of questions. I'll try and speed run them because I do want everybody to be tended to today. Okay. Next question. Any tips on how to navigate being in a school and work environment that is quite conservative and where it feels too risky to talk about my poly relationships, even in passing? That is really hard because you're talking about, is it safe to be out? Right? And I think anybody who's queer, anybody who's kinky, anybody who's like any sort of, fill in the blank, like identity or orientation or way of living that is under attack constantly by conservatives, like it might not be safe, because especially for polyamory, like, not to scare you or anything, but especially for polyamory, it's not a protected class in most places, right? So people can be fired for being polyamorous, right? People can have polyamory used in like custody battles and shit as like a negative thing, that sort of thing. So I do encourage people to be self-protective if you are not in a safe environment. So in that case, like really finding other people who are in a similar situation. How do you do that? I mean, I talked to people who are in India, where it is incredibly stigmatized still in most areas of the country, and there are like underground communities still where they meet up and they'll do like kink things, or they'll do like polyamory meetups and stuff. We flag to each other, like we organize online. People will meet on dating apps and like obscure their faces if they have to. And, so I think just finding other people that it is safe to be around. And in terms of like, if you have other relationships that you want to talk about, hey, how was your weekend? And you want to talk about your other partner, but they already know that you have this partner. So what do you say? I usually brainstorm with all of the people involved, and I say like, what is our thing that everybody feels fine doing, right? Because for safety purposes, even though it's not fun, I might be introduced as the quote unquote good friend, all right? I might be introduced as a good friend of my partner in settings where it's not okay to be safe. And we counterbalance that by celebrating our relationship wherever it is okay to be safe, right? So being mindful and thoughtful of risk, and being thoughtful of who is front facing, right? Like, and the benefits that get provided therein, like if somebody is known publicly and it's not safe to be out, well, that person gets invited to all the things and gets treated special by like socially and stuff like that. So I try and love on my more closeted partners extra behind the scenes or in spaces of good company. So yeah, we strategize, we brainstorm, we try and like game it out like that. But at the end of the day, like if I just say like, oh yeah, I was with some great friends and we did this thing, it can feel disappointing to not share the whole truth but you can still share a truth that is safe for you, right? And maybe you're just not that close to those people that you feel like you can't be transparent with. But you don't have to like lie. It's just about what is the comfortable version of the truth, and can everybody agree on that, so that nobody feels like a secret so much as a strategized, concealment from harm, if that makes sense, right? This is a little bit different. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. But talk to your people. See what you see. I hope you do find places where it's okay to let your guard down. Okay. I'm new to polyamory. My ex-boyfriend broke up this year because I wanted to have a romantic relationship with someone else too, who is my now boyfriend. We all go to the same university, and I don't know how to handle it when we are, for example, at the same parties or hanging out in the same room. My ex-boyfriend wants to not have contact with me for now, and I know it still hurts him if he was to see my now boyfriend and me kissing, but it also feels weird to not show affection for my now boyfriend at university or parties. Any tips for that, and how to maybe start a friendship with my ex-boyfriend in the future? Friendship, first of all, that's really tough, right? Like, that is a paradigm shift in your relationship structure, right? That is approaching love and relating differently, fundamentally. So I just want to validate that. And friendship is collaborative. Friendship is collaborative. Does your ex want a friendship that includes acceptance of you as a polyamorous person? And maybe that's not accessible to him right now because he's still hurting, It's not saying no, never, impossible. Could be that like he's on his own journey of figuring out what like his grief of the relationship looks like, or sometimes it can hurt extra when it's like, oh, we didn't want to necessarily break up, but the structure itself is incompatible, and like, nobody did anything quote unquote technically wrong, right? But like, it's just not working. That can be a different kind of grief than if there's anger in the mix. Like, I don't know, maybe there is anger in the mix, but like, so my short answer is like, does he want to work on that? Is he in collaboration with you on that? Like, could he be like, okay, well, I'm trying to get used to the idea, or I do want a friendship with you, and I'll leave if I'm feeling uncomfortable at a party, or is this like largely a discomfort internally that you're trying to like manage a monogamous person seeing your non-monogamous relationship, a monogamous person who wanted monogamy with you? That's grief you can't spare him from. It's grief you can't spare him from. So it's not to twist the knife and be like, oh, he's looking now, let me go make out with someone. But I don't know, if you want a friendship with him on some level, like, can you be honest with him and say like what you said to me, basically? It's like, I don't want to hurt you, and this is how I'm living. What do we do, right? Like, sometimes people pick which parties they go to for a while. Sometimes people need space in a small community. Sometimes it's unavoidable, and then it's like, are there just things we don't talk about right now? Are there things that, if I see it, I leave the room? It's not about controlling your behavior for his comfort. It's about making agreements to be respectful to each other within reason, that isn't like suppressing or hiding or secrecy, or, because you wouldn't want a friendship based on a foundation of pretending you're not polyamorous or non-monogamous, or, like, if you want a friendship with him at some point based on who you are and how you're living, then be who you are and how you're living. And like, so you can talk with him and be like, what's the least worst way to share space like this? Like, I want to be not an asshole. And, I don't know, like, bending into lots of different shapes to soothe a heartbroken person's comfort. Like, I don't know, you're allowed to have needs in this too, and you're allowed, like, you're not doing anything wrong by loving or being with a new person. So, yeah, my hope is that he would collaborate with you on that and try and meet you halfway, so that there can be like something you're working towards, rather than just like, is this what we do now forever, as I try to not like be myself in front of you, like, so, it's not that you can't be sensitive, just what is the plan? What is the plan, But if he won't plan with you, then you can just tell him what you're willing to do and what you're gonna be doing, and you hope one day that he might want to be friends with you and that you're open to that, but you can't control that, right? Like you genuinely can't control if your ex will want a friendship with you. Sometimes people just can't do that, and even if you were to do everything super perfectly, right, like he might still not want that. So I think it's about being real rather than trying to purely accommodate his discomfort, you know? Next question. My question is related to coming out. 3 months ago, I ended a 9-year monogamous relationship. Wow, that is a big change. I've known I am polyamorous since I was a teenager. I'm 36 now, and my partner knew that was in my history. I wanted to sincerely try monogamy, and we had a successful relationship, but now we want different things. We're recalibrating a friendship, and it's going really well. However, it's complicated because we work together. I'm in a leadership position at work, and the two of us are very publicly known within our community. We've been public about our amicable breakup, but I'm not sure how out I'd like to be as polyamorous. I'm not dating yet, but I've had several encounters with friends where romantic undertones are starting to emerge, and it feels hard to talk about, especially since I'm not really sure what I want structurally, and polyamory isn't common in my social sphere. So a few things are in the mix, and it seems like it touches on some things that I've already talked about just now. Coming out, very much a risk-reward thing, in my opinion, right? Coming out is very much like what, there's no like risk-free coming out. You know, even if you are in the most accepting, beautiful community that everybody was like, oh, that's amazing. I know plenty of polyamorous people and I have no questions, right? That would be great. That would be great if we all had access to that. And even then, you still move around in a world that was built for monogamous people. You still exist in an environment that stigmatizes polyamory or non-monogamy, unless you happen to be in like a closed, you know, like indigenous community with non-monogamous roots, right? Like if you exist in a colonized place, which is most places at this point, you have risk. You have risk of being non-monogamous out publicly. I know, because I am quite publicly out, right? And there are bridges that have been burned, and there are job offers that would never come my way, and the only brands that want to work with me are like sex toy companies, right? Because all of these other respectable brands won't work with it. There's risk, even if it is safe. So I'm just putting that out there to be like, what's your risk? What's your risk? And it's not an all nothing, right? Can some people know? How much do they know? When do they know it, you know? And are there some people that you trust? Are there some people that, like, a community is, it can look a lot of different ways, right? And we don't have the same relationship with every single person in the community. So somebody that is much more of like a professional colleague versus somebody that is like a, you know, more of a friend, but you also happen to share space. Consider risk reward per person as well. That's in terms of the non-monogamy of it all. However, like you're also sharing space with your ex-monogamous relationship. Is your ex on board with trying to protect you in this, especially if you're in a leadership position? I do think it's good to be mindful of, like, if you're in a leadership role and your ex is like under you power-wise, that's always something I try and keep in mind, because that can be easy when you're like peers in one context but not in another, to be like, forget, oh right, I have power over you, you know? Like, I think that's important to always keep front of mind and see how that might be affecting them if, you know, they're also like mourning. I don't know if they're mourning or grieving. Even if it's amicable, it can be quite sad. 3 months ago is very recent. But yeah, like, if you are public about a breakup, would it be weird to be seeing other people? Like, would people squint at that? I think it would be one thing if you were like still actively in a relationship people always knew to be monogamous, and then you're like flirting and hooking up with people. I think that would put off more flags than not, but I guess it always just really depends on the person and the people. Brainstorm with whoever you're getting close to, right? Like, if it's a close friend and you're starting to hook up with them, be like, what is our shared risk? Maybe they have more or less risk than you do, right? Like, it's easy for me to be out. And if I'm with someone who's in a very small town and their income and their like housing security or whatever is influenced by a small conservative town, then my outness, my ease, like I try and accommodate the person with more risk, for example. But there's always like ways that if you are brainstorming together, you and whoever you want to be close with, to like how do we protect each other? So that goes back to the being out conversation before. That said, I was much more scared to be out than I needed to be personally. I was very self-protective and I was pretty private for the first 6 years of my polyamory, from like 2012 to 2018. And then one friend of a friend who knew that I was polyamorous, that I was like, ooh, asked me to be on this very public panel. And I was like, fuck, do I do this? And I weighed the risk. I was like, it's public, but it's not being filmed. Okay, yeah, I'll stand up in this room full of like 300 people and talk about it, and fingers crossed that no harm comes my way or like ruins my job, because I had like a sort of corporate job at the time. And when I was on that panel, everybody was like really warm. And obviously it was, I'm not saying this is going to happen for everybody, but everybody who came wanted to talk about it in good faith. And I saw the benefit of being out. And I was like, I think I want to push myself to be more out than I previously was personally, because so many people have higher risk than me and absolutely cannot be out, and we have too few role models. And so that's when I actually started tiptoeing into talking about it more, dropping my partners, with a plural, or being like, oh yeah, my girlfriend and I did this, my boyfriend and I did that. And then if somebody wants to ask, wait, what do you mean? Then they can. Like, I started tiptoeing into flagging at the very least to other polyamorous people that their spidey senses would go off and they'd be like, oh wait, what did you say? No, because I've been looking for more like me, which happened. Once I was more comfortable saying a couple things, people were drawn to me, and I suddenly made more polyamorous friends because I was comfortable being out first. So that was a benefit of it. I did have like pushback. I did have judgment. Like, I'm not saying like everything was easy, because definitely not. I had family members that don't talk to me anymore, but good the fuck riddance personally, because they're dicks anyway, and I don't respect the way they live and cheat on their spouses under quote unquote, monogamy. That's just my little aside. You're gonna judge my life choices because I'm not hurting anybody, the hypocrisy sometimes. So yeah, there's risk reward. I guess that's a long way of saying risk reward, but there is value in being out to the degree that you can be, because somebody might need to see you. Last question for today. I'm realizing I'm demisexual, but I am someone who craves a lot of physical intimacy. I am new to polyamory and exploring my sexuality. I dove headfirst into a relationship with a woman where I had mind-blowing sex for the first time. I love that for you. We said we were poly, but we were so obsessed with each other that we were functionally monogamous, and the relationship ended because we were trying to force escalation in ways that were not possible for our different points in life. I've had some other close friends turned lovers that are now in de-escalation phases, removing sex from our connection. The demi part for me means anytime I get close with someone or I'm vibing with them over a shared interest, I feel desire for physical intimacy. We were just talking about demisexuality, where you feel desire for intimacy because you are emotionally close. Continuing their question. They feel a desire for intimacy when they're vibing with someone. For example, quote unquote, this is such a good conversation, we're going to kiss now, right? And they say, historically, when I've found good connection in sex, I've focused on escalation as a way to try and keep it going. I don't want to keep losing or complicating close friendships in this pursuit. I want to explore with different people and not fall into a single obsession. So I think the question here is, what do? Is that your question? I'm not super sure on what it is you're asking, other than there's this tension. There's this tension about, well, I like you, so that means we're going to kiss, right? And we're kissing, well, I don't want this party to end, so I guess what's next? And what's next after that? And what's next after that? People do this in monogamy all the time. Well, I like you, and we've been doing this for a while. I guess we're moving in together, right? Like that's just what you do next, right? The escalator of any kind, and this applies to sex as well, the escalator of any kind where we just automatically step on it and then don't consciously choose the next steps. We just go on autopilot and we're like going up on the next step, the next step, the next step. Any kind of escalator like that where we're not deciding step by step what we do, but just like doing it because that's what you do, that often hits a point where you're like, wait, this isn't the shape it should be because you didn't go into it consciously. Now, this is no shade. We've all done this for the most part, right? If you grew up in a monogamous environment with one romantic escalator that looks a certain way, everybody just is like, oh, I guess that's how you love. That's what love looks like, you know? Even though that looks different society to society, culture to culture. So obviously it's not inherent to how people relate. It's just a cultural construct, literally. So people made it, which means you can unmake it, which means you can do something different if it's not working for you. And all that to say, pausing and asking anytime, where's this impulse coming from? I think in general, that's a good question. Where is this impulse coming from? This is such a good conversation. We're going to kiss now, right? Is that impulse coming from, I really think you look beautiful in this light and I want to kiss you? Is that where that's coming from? I feel close to you, so I want to kiss you. Then maybe you kiss. I don't know, talk to them. But this is such a good conversation. I don't want it to end. So what comes next? I guess we kiss, right? That doesn't sound like it's coming from inside. It sounds like it's coming from top down, from like an idea, probably an idea that was given to you externally by like some sort of like, I don't know, romantic movie or you know, song about what you do in bed or porn or, you know, like wherever you got the idea of this is what we do next, right? Who gave you that idea? Because if it's not coming from in here, if it's not like coming from your belly button up, then why do it? Why do it? And I get the fear of like, I don't want this to end, or like, so let's hang on to some kind of escalating. But I promise you, I have a couple of people who've been in my life from 15 to 20 years that we've just done the same thing for 15 to 20 years. And it's deep and it's loving and it's consistent and it has not escalated because it reached the shape it needed to reach. And it's flexible. If for some reason I wake up and I'm like, hey, we're in the same town, do you want to like live near each other? And then like, I don't know, are you having a kid? I'll help raise your kid. Like, I'm open to escalation if it makes sense, if it's not forced, if it is coming from inside out rather than from outside imposed on. So instead of, like if it's the latter, this is such a good conversation, I don't want it to end, I guess we should kiss. If that's where the impulse is coming from, can you pause? And maybe not in that moment. I don't know what's accessible to you. Maybe in that moment. If they're a nerd about relationships and you feel safe telling them, maybe you have a great conversation that comes from it. Oh shit, I really wanted to kiss you even though I don't want to kiss you. Let's talk about it. I've had that kind of talk before. And we're like, oh wow, that's so cool. Where did that come from? Like, I'm a fucking relationship nerd, right? But so you don't have to talk about it with them if that's not the vibe. But I wonder why I wanted to do that. I think I might be scared that they'll lose interest, or that if I don't, then it'll mean this, or, you know, what if we just had a good conversation? And do I actually want to kiss them? Maybe not. Or maybe I did that moment, but I don't every time. And can you start a conversation with them based on whatever you discover is like your actual desire with that person? Because that's how the actual shape of a relationship is going to do what it wants to do, right? I feel like it's kind of like cooking a loaf, you know? It's going to rise to the point it rises, right? You can add to it, but it's like, it's going to do what it's going to do, you know? And you can take it off the heat at any time. I don't know how long I'm going to go with this metaphor, but I feel like it's a shape that is at a point beyond our control. Like, this is just what this wants to do. This is just what this turned out to be, I guess. And accepting that and being like, and loving it for what it is, and not trying to be like, oh, well, this is bad because it's that shape, or this isn't enough because it's that shape, or, you know, like, what shape does the relationship want to be? I feel like a relationship tells us what it's trying to do, and we either listen to it or we don't, you know, we either name it or we don't, you know? But I think there's a degree of like letting go and accepting that like, I'm me and you're you, but you plus me is its own third thing. Let's get to know that third thing, you know? I don't know if that's clear. Losing my eloquence at the end of the night, but I also try to keep plain language because it's easier to digest. So Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much, my patrons. You pay my rent, you pay my bills. You are the only reason I can do all of the other work that I do. So I'm very, very grateful to you, and I hope that I can be of service in return. So I really appreciate it. And again, anyone who's watching, I would love to welcome you next time, or have a pen pal or one-on-one chat with you. I'm around at different varying price points, right? Find whatever works for you. If you want to chat more, I'm here. But anyway, otherwise, thank you so much, everybody. And I will see you in some amount of weeks. I'll see you for the next one. Okay? Love you, and I hope you have a great week. Bye. Mwah.